So I've had lots of educators I've taught for years, but the person who really made a giant difference in my life and has been my mentor is Dr. Jane Goodall. Dr. Jane was influential beginning in college when in my archaeology class had lessons teaching about her work with chimpanzees uh, in Gombe. And so never did I know that years later with my students, we would have opportunities to work with her. So I had students, we joined Roots and Shoots, which is her international organization for animals, plants, and the environment. And it was life-changing. With Dr. Jane and the students, we would travel to different locations every year for her leadership institutes. And through that, I developed a global vision. And that vision has never left me. It's a passion I have. I always had a passion for Africa, much like Jane did when she was a young girl. And she used to read books about Tarzan, and Tarzan was something she wanted to be that Jane. She always said he married the wrong Jane. And when she met my mother, she even said, "Why did you call her a name like Julene? Why didn't you call her something like simple, like Jane?" But Jane was a huge influence, and her care and compassion for the world really helped spur me into being a caring person who really is passionate about the world. So through that, I traveled every year and was with Jane for a week with students. Got to know her very well. Went to Tanzania with my African brother and Sayer Kahunra NK, she helped put through Stetson University. And so I got to know Jane very well. I worked in villages in Tanzania at the foot of Mount Kilimanjaro at Simi Secondary School, working with students and teachers. But we also got to take time to go on safaris and things like that. The second time I returned to Tanzania, we actually got to go to Gombe, and I stayed in Jane's house on Lake Tanganyika in Gombe, which was amazing to see what she'd done. And when I saw Jane back in Dar es Salaam the next week, I said, "Jane, how did you hike those hills all the time? Because they're really steep." And she just kind of laughed at me. But the week before, 2 weeks before, she had actually reached for a boulder as she was climbing down the trails, and the boulder gave out and fell on her and broke her arm. But she was sure to tell me that it wasn't her that made the problem, it was the boulder, because she was much more steady footed and still is than I am. So Jane has been my passionate leader for years, and I consider her a fabulous mentor and friend.